Bros Legion and CFL fans, Three Down Bros here, Roland, Arthur, and yours truly, Greg, to discuss developments in the den. Three Down Bros with 3Ds, developments in the den. High level thoughts from this bro is I'm still holding my breath. We've got a brand new coach in Buck Pierce, brought in by the brand new manager, Ryan Rigmaiden. And our last broadcast a couple weeks back, I said I'm going to hold my breath on that GM. So far, he is staying true to his word for some toughness, because I don't think they come any tougher than Buck Pierce. With the coaches that we could have chosen from out there, this bro thinks they made the right choice. And moving forward, still holding my breath on what's coming up next. Arthur, what's your thoughts?
Thought is, yeah, I agree with you, Greg, 100%. I mean, I think Buck Pierce is the right kind of coach that the Lions need at this juncture of their, I guess, process, where they Rick Campbell brought some respectability back into the market, professionalism. We won a whole bunch of games, and then we got some talent, but the problem was in the playoffs, in the Western Finals, or in then last year the Western Semifinal,
Yep.
how we just couldn't respond from a physical nature. So I think this is the right move at this time. Roland, what do you think?
Yeah. So first of all, welcome all of you guys who are joining with us on the live stream. Glad that you can join us tonight. As usual, please feel free to comment on the chat. Anything that you agree with, disagree with, or you just wanna just throw it out there, and we'll chat with you. Love to do that. It's always fun to banter. But yeah, my thoughts. Cautiously optimistic. So definitely Buck Pierce is proven as a proven tough, SOB, right? That's what he's known for. As a player. I mean, I used to as a player.
The acronym is okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
as a player, and but it's his first time as a head coach. So can he translate that? Now, as an OC, we saw that Winnipeg was kind of the standard to beat. And other than the Grey Cups, where they for whatever reason they fold the last couple of years. But hopefully, if he learns from that, then that's why I'm cautiously optimistic. But I am pretty excited. Okay, so again, if you're online, let us know your thoughts on Buck Pierce. We're gonna dig deeper and throw this around. I guess first question. You talked about folding. So the Winnipeg on this last Grey Cup was. Do you think this was Buck Pierce's strategy, or was he overridden?
With, I guess you mean when Caleros was brought back into the game because because of his finger.
Yeah, and also not. I mean, I think you disagree, but I think Oliveira could have been used more as well. But
Well, I mean, okay, so up to when Zach got injured, it was a pretty close game, right?
yeah,
I mean, where the divergence of the score happened was in the fourth quarter when Caleros was trying to throw the ball, right?
yeah,
From what I heard from Winnipeg, like the Bombers, they said that they actually called more run plays, but because of the lineup, the defensive scheme, they switched to passing plays. They had more rushing plays drawn up. Toronto stacked the box because, well, it's pretty easy to see Zach's finger was in disrepair. So they say, okay, well, you can beat us on the ground. So you're going to have to beat us on the ground. And, in the air, we'll take our chances and like man-to-man coverage. And Winnipeg went for it. They should have run the ball, but and what I liked about their version of volleyball is even though we all know they were going to run the ball, they still rushed the ball very effectively in the past.
in the regular season for
in
sure.
the regular season and in previous playoff games, right?
Yeah,
Toronto, I mean, okay, so we've been doing a massive deep dive, but Toronto, I think, controlled the line of scrimmage.
yeah,
I mean, you got to give credit to Toronto's D-line
Yep.
and McManus. they controlled the run game. I mean, it was tough sledding for Winnipeg, and I think they're not used to it. So
Yeah, normally they're the ones who controls the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I
Their
think
bully
Toronto
ball
did a
got
really good
bullied
job.
right back, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, I think at least if it was Buck Pierce making those calls to go to the air versus the ground, again using Roland's cautious optimism, at least he made an adjustment. The box was stacked. Let's do what we can through the air. He went for it. Just when the ball was up there, Winnipeg's defensive backfields want was way more than the Winnipeg's receivers want. I think and that's how I saw it from where we were watching on the out of town there. But you know what? I would definitely take that new identity for our defense that Toronto displayed. But again, we'll leave that for later on in the show. But you know what? At least Buck made an adjustment based on what they saw on the field.
Yeah.
I will give him that.
All right. So next question: How? So he's interviewed a few times already since the announcement, and every single interview he talked about toughness. So he mentioned toughness in every single one that I've seen. Right.
yep.
How's he going to do that? How are you going to bring about a culture of toughness to a team that's used to playing finesse and folding when we have adversity? At least the last year and a half, right? How do you bring that?
I mean, it starts with him and Ron Brigmaden, right? So they've already said this is the blueprint. We will hold people to account. We will hold people accountable to the standard. This is the new standard, right? Starts with those guys, and then it'll go to the coordinators, which Buck's I kind of like the OC.
Yeah.
It'll go to the coordinators and go to the coaches and then go to the leaders, right? So there's gonna be some turnover in this team, right?
Much needed.
Yeah, they're gonna need their line coaches, like O-line, D-line coaches, they're gonna have to be very on board with this new direction. But the GM will have to provide the kind of players that will do this, will provide the toughness in the trenches. And it all kind of starts there. I mean, we've talked about this all last year, the year before that, right? We're talking about intensity,
Yeah.
toughness, physicality. So I think, it starts with Ryan Rigmaden and Buck Pierce. And then how they fill up the roster with the coaches and the players, the mentality, the play calling. None of this. Oh, we're not going to run a bubble screen because some of our receivers can't block very well.
Yeah.
I don't think that flies with
No.
Buck Pierce.
No.
Well, we hope, right? I mean, everything they were saying, if we take them at their word that they're going to do, then I think it sounds good. It might be a bridge too far for all those changes to happen by the beginning of the next season, but we shall see. Right? It all depends on how much, what kind of players they can bring in.
I couldn't agree with you more, Arthur. All the media availability we've seen with Buck and Ryan Rigmaden versus Ryan the DC, they've said all the right things, right? And if they're going to hold the players accountable, they need to hold themselves accountable to us, the fans, us, the observers. If they want to talk about the toughness and the accountability, then they've got to hold themselves to us, the outside observer. And absolutely, that's who you bring in. You tell the existing players here that this is the new brand of football we're playing. This is the identity of the team. If you cannot live up to it, if you cannot deliver, we will find somebody else that can. I mean, this is football, the only sport I think the contracts aren't guaranteed. You can sign 5 years, but they can release you tomorrow. It is up to them. I believe there was one interview that Ryan said he will listen to Buck on the type of players Buck needs. Now, if Buck is bringing in something off the O'Shea tree, Buck has said something to the effect that O'Shea is a good coach. He is tough, he is hard-nosed, and he holds you to account. If Buck brings that in here and Ryan brings in some key players and the leaders that we do keep buy into it, we should be okay. But again, I'm going to echo Roland and cautiously optimistic. What do you think?
Yeah. So Q-Man says, only way to change physical nature of this team is free agency and massive turnover of roster.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's the roster. Yes, absolutely.
that that I, that mean that's not feasible though. It's not realistic. We can't massively turn over the roster. So there's going to be some, but there's still going to be a lot of people who are going to be here, and so it's up to Buck Pierce and his team to foster that culture of toughness, right? So we can bring in a few tough guys, and that'll help, but we can't can't replace everyone, right? So my thoughts on that, the O line and the D line, for them to have gotten this far in their career, they must have at some point played bully ball already. So it's not something
Somewhere.
that
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. You're
it's
right.
not something
Somewhere.
not something that they're new to, but maybe the way the schemes had been laid out, they didn't have to. Now they're gonna have to dig deep and play that kind of ball again. I'm a little bit more worried about the receivers and the DBs. Linebackers, I think, also at some point for them to get to this level, have played bully ball, right? But receivers and DBs are a little bit more finesse players, and those you really need to, I think we need to drill into them. If you look at Winnipeg's receivers the last 4 or 5 years, they are tough.
Look at the receivers across the league. They all block. Bubble screens against the Lions were executed at will because our DBs got out blocked every time by the opposition receivers.
Yeah. So yeah. So just further, yeah, it starts at the top. Arthur says, we bring in some tough players, and hopefully that'll kind of spread through. But yeah, how do you do this in practice, right? In practice, they don't hit, so it's only in the games that they hit.
Well, I think practice you go through your formations, and then you go through your assignments, right? Everyone's assignment, and that's what practice does.
Yeah.
Now in the games, I mean, in a way, I agree with Q-Man, right? They need culture carriers or
Yeah.
changes. So like if you bring in I think Manis in the middle, right, or Jameer Thurman in the middle, and if they play that way, that intensity that will spread to the other guys.
It will go
Yeah.
virally through the
Because
team.
it has to be like your leaders have to play that way.
Yeah.
So now maybe some of their leaders, I mean, the leadership structure of the Lions is going to be completely changed for 2025. VA has moved on.
Yeah.
Right? And we will probably talk a little bit more about VA later on, right? So VA has moved on. TJ on the defensive side, I don't know if he's going to do another year or not, or Gary Peters. Like, we're not sure, right? Keon Hatcher, he's due a big, massive pay increase with the way he finished this past year. That might need to be reviewed. He in the past has played very physical.
Yeah.
Just like he wasn't as productive after his Achilles injury, like when he came back. So all these are the kind of guys you're gonna need. No, they need more leaders. And what else did Buck say is toughness, but mental. Like we need to handle adversity better.
Yeah.
So like the physical toughness and the mental toughness. So I think that they're definitely gonna need like a handful of free agents. And probably someone on the D line, like who's this a tough SOB. It's YouTube. I think it's a Wild West. And probably someone on the O line. Like that's what I'm thinking, right? You just need pieces sprinkled here and there, and then probably some coaches that Buck maybe played with, and then you give him an elevated role with the Lions.
Yeah.
Yep. There's no hitting in practice during season or training camp as much, but when you have those free agent tryout camps, you can find those, like Arthur said, where did Saskatchewan find all those first year receivers? They're going to find them somewhere. And if they're hungry enough to make the team and they know what the identity of this team is, you never know. You might find one or two that come in, and then when they come into training camp, they're going to want to make a mark. And they might just lay out a DB that's been here for a few years. They might just smack a receiver in the mouth that's been here a few years. And then if the receivers and DBs, like you said, Ro, have gotten to this point in their career, they're not going to take that. And then they might need to know, okay, this is how we got to play to keep our job. Because when you put that paycheck on the line, maybe the identity change happens as well, versus a full roster massive turnover.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know how it is at this level, but at least at the high school level when I played, it's fun being the hammer and doing the hitting.
It hurts less, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun when you're doing the hitting. Of course, you're not hitting with the intent to injure, right? But you're hitting with the intent to break their will, right?
Yeah, you're hitting first.
Yeah,
right? You're delivering the blow, not receiving the blow, right?
Yeah. So hopefully when that happens, they'll start having fun. They'll play looser, like we saw in Victoria, right? The DBs were playing fast and loose, and they were hitting hard.
Same within Montreal.
Yeah, when you play fun like that, then you start believing, and when you start believing, then that's gonna help handle adversity, right? Because even if you're behind, you're not gonna panic because you're starting to believe we can do this. Right?
And what better guy to bring in too with Buck than, how did Winnipeg start the year? And then they decided, you know what, enough's enough. It's first place or bust. And that was that mental toughness was there. Like you said, Roland, Winnipeg never panicked. If they were down, they just stuck to their plan. And generally they overcame their adversity. Well, the way they started the season, everybody counted them out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
What were they? 0-4, 1-5, or 2-7 at one point? And then all of a sudden they're in the Grey Cup final.
Yeah.
And I think if Buck can bring that, because he knows what it took to do that, he knows the makeup of the player that it took to do that. So you know what? You tell the players that are here, this is what we need you to be, or we will find someone else that can.
Yeah. All right. So slight detour. Is that enough? So he's going to bring in a culture of toughness. That's what he's been saying in all the interviews. A culture of toughness. Is that enough, or do we need other changes as well? Not talking about personnel, but just in terms of the team's identity. Well, is there anything else that we need to do?
Well, I think if you use toughness as the umbrella, like, again, like Arthur said, mental toughness as well as physical toughness, I think that should be almost, I'm sure there's little tweaks here, but the mental toughness, right, is key, right? Because again, like Arthur said, when things didn't go their way, if they didn't have that big lead with the offense clicking on all cylinders, they didn't have enough toughness on any unit mentally to change the momentum, right? If offense isn't moving, the defense didn't get a takeaway. They couldn't hit somebody hard enough. Special teams couldn't flip the field to just do something to get any momentum back in games they weren't doing well at, or where they faced adversity. And if that mental toughness is there, physical toughness generally follows, because if you're mentally tough, you're going to be physically tough because you got to back up that mental toughness. So I think if you use the word toughness as an overall culture change, I think that should be enough.
Okay. How about,
because to be tough, you got to be accountable. So those are the two big words that they've been using since Rick Maiden took over.
Okay. Arthur, do you think we need other changes from an identity or team-wide perspective?
I think identity, that's a good start, and I think that will be most of the change in terms of a culture identity. We want to be tough, we want to be mentally tough, and we're going to hang into the fight, right? So I think just from the attitude, this is what you want, right? And of course, you want winning attitude, but winning attitude, you're going to have to prove it, right?
Yeah.
So you're going into the fight, you got to be tough. And you're going to be accountable to what you do or what you didn't do.
Yeah.
That's just the attitude going into the fight. Now, what else do they have to do? The biggest improvement the Lions will see is Nathan Rourke spending months and months and months focused on one playbook.
Yeah.
And he
Under
can focus on one.
OC.
Yeah, with Buck Pierce, and then we like how Buck calls the game, the formations they use to mix it up.
Yeah.
And he's going to be balanced. He's going to have a run game. Like basically, he was telling us everything we wanted to hear. We wanted from a BC Lions offensive play caller.
Yeah.
So whether he can deliver in that, whether he's going to do that or not, we'll see, right? There's going to be a lot of turnover in the CFL this year, a lot of free agents, like William Stanback's a free agent. So we'll see if he comes back, whether we bring another running back.
Yeah.
We'll see, right? I mean, there's going to be a long list of free agents that the Lions have to bring in. They just have to prioritize what they want.
Yeah.
What's most important, and we will probably dive into a little bit more. But I think the most important thing is Nathan Work spending that time. If he can get to that level, maybe not even 2022, maybe just a level below that, the Lions will win more games.
Yeah, for sure.
They'll be up. Their offense will be moving with this varied play calls and formations. The Lions are not as predictable. The offense will be on the field longer.
Yeah.
So all these are good things that will help turn the tide on the defense being on the field too long. With this offense, with the offense struggling, and I think what Nathan likes the Buck Pierce offense is, yeah, it's bully ball, but they have that explosive component where they go deep, they stretch the field. It's not all just we're pounding,
Yeah.
ground and pound, right?
Yes.
It's not all that. There is a big explosive plays. There's some medium routes as well. So I think Nathan will be quite happy. And you know what? Buck's a winner.
Yep.
Yes.
Right? And I think Nathan's probably had enough. He's probably had enough, right? And what did he say in his media availability is, yeah, maybe he needed to trust his teammates more. He needed to trust the process a little more. He was doubting. You don't know which O-lineman was going to get blown up.
Yep.
Right?
He trusted more back in 2022 when he didn't know anything yet. I mean, that's ignorance is bliss, right?
Yes, yeah.
But then, coming back here, you're right. I do have a question I want to throw out there, though. I don't know, Roland, you can shut me down if I'm asking this question out of turn based on our agenda. But when you talked about Buck is not going to have that Lions predictability like the predecessor, will that predictability be there when we play Winnipeg? Because again, they face that offense every day in practice, right? Or will Buck be able to deal with that? Because again, he knows we're going up against that defense that knows my place, right? Kind of like when another, I just throwing that out there. Is it too early to ask that?
Sure. No, that's a good question. I mean, I'll give an initial thought on that. But I agree that Buck has shown a lot more creativity, and I want to see that in our offense. But
we were asking for that a lot. We were all asking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The other thing I want to see too is on our defense to have more aggression. So him being the head coach and he's going to have to hire a DC, whether it's RP or not, we don't know, and it's not settled yet, right? But I'd like to see more aggression in the defense and taking risks, not all the time, but every now and then, just taking big risks, just to keep the offense off balance, right? The opponent's offense. So that's what I'd like to see, in our team identity. And then in special teams, I want, Greg, you're going to love this. I want to see. Go
ahead, bro. What?
I want to see more than just plain vanilla, special teams plays where, okay, just run and get as many yards as you can until you get tackled. Because don't lose the ball. I really believe that was what, what was being called, what was being asked for, right? Because that's all we're seeing, right? So I'd like to see a little bit more explosiveness and a little bit more, aggression there too, where they can have fun and say, we're gonna try to break this out, right? Instead of just just follow your blocks, and then if you get 5-10 yards, that's good enough.
When Benny came back, I was happy with. I mean, the special teams coverage was, miles and miles and miles better than it was before Benny got here. But the return game was stagnant and predictable. And I think, like you said, Ro, that's what was coached. And a lot of people out there in the forum world talking about the Lions and who should be what. A lot of them are calling for Benny to be the DC. And I'm thinking, well, if he was so conservative on a special teams return game, do we really want a conservative guy as our DC? Now, when he was DC here before under Wally, we had a great defense. It was aggressive. It was nasty. It was fast.
Yeah.
But, maybe he's playing with the hand he's dealt, right? He's got a returner that's not big, not going to run over anybody, not fast enough to run by anybody. Just play with the hand I'm dealt with. Maybe, again, that's what RP did with the DBs he had, because like Arthur always said, he's protecting against the deep ball because we were weak against covering that deep ball. But Winnipeg didn't have a problem doing either. So,
yeah, I don't know. I have a problem with that attitude because the players are only going to rise up to where you expect them to be, right? So you're saying if you're setting the standard to be here, then they're just going to rise up to there, and then okay, they've met it, right? But if you say no, the standard is here, and you gotta get there. I'm expecting you to get there.
Else that can.
Yeah. Yep. So that's the attitude I want to see. And from watching Buck Pierce play before, he seems to be that kind of guy. He's not going to give up, right? He's going to do whatever he can to make the extra inch.
He led by example on the field. Every time he got in that huddle, he led by example.
Yeah. All right. So Greg had a question. Arthur, what do you think? Is Buck Pierce going to be predictable to Winnipeg, or can he switch it around?
Well, I mean, if Winnipeg can listen in the huddle and know his call signs, I mean, if Buck does not change his Buck call signs, then the younger will understand what Buck's running. Now,
you have those guys holding those big white cardboard things, right?
Yeah. So they
formations formations or whatever, because you don't know what he's going to run out of that formation.
Well, they'll run analytics on the formation. You're in this formation most likely. If this formation, this so and so person's on the field, X amount of times, you're going to do this or that, right? So the veteran players will catch on faster than the rookies. Well, I don't know. To me, he's going to make some changes. Yeah. Okay. You know we're going to run the ball. First down, maybe we'll run the ball, right? Fine. You have to stop us. That's why we're tough, right? That's where the toughness comes in.
And that's that arrogance that I think we miss. The arrogance that yes, we'll out execute you. That's the arrogance we don't need. But the arrogance is come and stop us. That's an attitude that we need here.
So, I mean, you can't play too scared, right? Like, oh, they're gonna stack. We're gonna have to go. I mean, yeah, you want to take what the defense gives you, but to a certain point, right? You do have to establish the run. You have to establish a balance, right? But anyways, I mean, like, Maksimic went to Edmonton. Monson has not completely landed in Toronto. Killam is in Edmonton. I mean, there's flux everywhere, right? And then people are going to go to Winnipeg to fill in the OC spot, right? So someone's going to go into like there's going to be movement, and then players too. The players know the playbooks, right? Yep. So like Nathan was on here for like year and a half. The playbook was 80, 85%, 90% the same. Maybe some of the terminologies, but all in all, most of it was the same. So you get player movement and free agency. Well, guess what? They're going to know the plays, right? Of course, the coordinators will know the plays much more because they kind of live and breathe it. But I think some of the players will know the play. I mean, VA will know the Maksimic playbook like the back of his hand.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, those Battle of Alberta, those Labor Day weekend games might be good.
But anyways. But yeah, that's, to me, it's an advantage as well as a disadvantage. I mean, Buck knows the Winnipeg defense really well, too.
Yeah,
true. That's true. Yep.
So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So talking about players, then let's switch to players. A number of free agents, both in the Lions and also with other teams. So just open question, no in no particular order, but who do we need to keep? What positions do we need to beef up? I think we know some of those positions, like on the O-line, D-line. I'll throw some of these questions. We don't have to address them all in one shot. But some of the things that I am wanting to ask, VA now being in Calgary and VA being well loved by many players, is he going to poach some of our players?
He will. He will poach, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean,
So
just look at how many guys he brought in. I mean, he brought a handful of guys stand back, some players, and I know Geno Smith is going to be a free agent. Whether
Oh yes, that's right. Edmonton's receiver.
Dickinson's going to want to bring him in or not, that's another story, right? They'll have Bigleton, they have Michelle, so whether that will be, but yeah, but I mean I think that's yeah, and then people don't know Nate as well, so
yeah.
but I think for the Lions, I think they need to upgrade their O line and D line more, and their
Yeah.
linebackers. I think that's where you're going to get that is the toughness where your toughness will show.
Yeah.
I think Katoy's tough enough. He's still going to be on the team.
Yep. Look at the yak yards speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hollins.
Absolutely.
Hollins, Hatcher, they're all under contract. Those guys make over $200K.
Will they be traded? Any one of them?
I think they might get released.
You can release them. This is football.
Yeah.
It's not the contracts aren't guaranteed. Right?
It all depends when their signing bonuses due. So whenever their signing bonuses due, they're going to release them prior. Because once that date comes across, then that's on your cap. That signing bonus that you paid. So you're going to have to make a change. They're going to have to make a call and make a call pretty quickly. But there's so many free agents. So I would say
you want McInnes back though, and if you do, that's gonna have a bit of a price tag on that. So where are you gonna get that money from? One of the H's?
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, that's what I would do.
Or do you let him go and then you grab another Canadian to complement?
Let McInnes go.
I mean, it's hard to find a Canadian. I mean, a Canadian who led the league in receiving yards is hard. I mean, I think he's almost a priority. But the question.
Well,
but,
Buck did say him and Betts are priority, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because they're Canadians.
Yep.
And McInnes he's great. He's good. I like him. You know, there's no reason to get rid of him.
He was tough, right? He was tough. He needs to maybe learn how to block, but I mean that's what they're going to teach him.
Yeah.
But
Don Cherry said if he's a good Canadian kid, then he'll learn to block.
Yeah. So
Betts
I mean,
didn't have as good a year. I mean, he came in half a year. What do you think?
He's got a good motor. Question, is he tough enough? And he's just not the biggest guy, right? He lost that weight because he was going to be an outside linebacker, kind of like a rushing, blitzing linebacker in the NFL. So he lost that weight.
Yeah. I mean, he can make the weight back before the season starts. Yeah. Is that enough?
But the thing is, he's going to want big money, and then is Hamilton going to step it up? And to me,
is he 30? Is he on the south side of 30 now?
Maybe late 20s. Yeah, to me I think you need to spend the money to reinforce your identity, right? So a DN that's quick, that has a motor. I mean, the motor is tough, right? Because he will chase, but.
Yeah.
I'd rather have someone a bit more smash. I'd rather have
smash mouth,
a defensive tackle who is a smash mouth kind of guy that is going to be a terror, right? So,
because I think we can replace Betts' motor. I don't use the word tough. He's tenacious, but that doesn't necessarily translate to tough smash mouth. Can Covington be that smash mouth guy? He's got the size for it. He had the NFL speed for it. Can he be that smash mouth guy, or is he going to fight off double and triple teams again all year long?
Well, if you bring in another D tackle that's pretty tough, like there's a number of them on free agency, then they can't necessarily just double team Covington, right?
Right.
Now, Covington did get better as the year went on, right? Yep. So I think that's a tougher call. If he's willing to come back at a reduced salary, then the prorated salary he made this past half or one third of the season, then maybe there's something there. If not, I mean, he's kind of loyal to John Bowman, so we'll see if John Bowman survives. And then on the defensive side, there's going to be a change, right? So I just have a feeling Ryan Phillips will move on. There's already rumors he's going to go to another organization, right?
Well, I mean, Bowman, again, just as the D-line coach, works within the scheme the DC makes up. So, again, if that's he might have the right guys, just not the right scheme for those guys to operate in. Just like our O line. Is our O line, like Roland said, up to playing smash mouth bully ball under how Bates coached them? But was that all under how McSimic drew up the playbook?
Yeah.
Right? Because even when Kelly Bates played, he was decent, but he wasn't Rob Murphy. He wasn't Chris Perez.
Yeah.
I heard Bates is moving on from the organization, right? That's what I'm hearing in some of the forums.
Yeah, that's what I read too.
So there's gonna be some changes. Maybe Buck can bring in the O-line coach from Winnipeg, because
that'll be interesting.
But then you probably give him like assistant OC. Give him the OC title,
a promotion,
a promotion, and he might take it, right?
Can Josh Woods be, after a full off season and rehabbing that knee? God bless the guy. Can he be that smash mouth middle linebacker?
I mean,
he has to operate within the scheme he's given, but can he be that aggressive?
I think
nasty?
he's like physical. Whether he's like extremely tough, I mean, I wouldn't want to find out one-on-one, but I'm sure he's tough.
He's a pretty big dude. We saw him at the view party, man. He's not small.
So I mean, I think they do need to bring in an established linebacker, and then George Woods can slide over and play outside, right? I mean, he doesn't have to play in the middle, but I think they need to bring a culture carrier in as middle linebacker.
Yeah.
I love that term. Can we coin that here on Three Down Bros? You heard it today. Yeah. A culture carrier. I like that.
Yeah. We've had culture carriers, right? Like Solomon Elimimian, Big Hill.
David Benefield, Adam Big Hill. We've had a few linebackers that have carried that culture here.
Yeah.
I think that's what you need. I just don't know how the leadership's going to shake down. Like, you don't know if TJ is going to come back. Is his role being diminished? He's just going to be the Sam, right? Sam was a better spot for him than being in the backfield or so I don't know. Can he cover anymore, like effectively, like in his prime, right? So these are things I do not know, but they made the switch to put him in as a Sam linebacker. So we'll see what happens.
They did a better job than Rugamba did, but maybe that's just based on experience.
Well, I mean, they thought it was better to put Rugamba as halfback. It was better for them to switch spots. So to me, I'm like, really? If this is better, then maybe the solution is not a solution, right? I mean, obviously, you're in season. It's probably just more.
That's all you got, right?
Yeah, you got to do with what you got to do with what you got. But yeah, I think there's going to be some changes.
There's Talon's Aviation.
Yeah,
he's a Winnipeg guy.
Sad to see Pierce leave Winnipeg. LOL.
Well, every year there is a team. I mean, as Arthur says, 9-team league, but every year there seems to be a team that's purged. And I guess this year was Winnipeg's turn. They lost Govea, they lost Pierce.
Yeah.
I mean, when who's the coach in Saskatchewan now?
Well, Mace, but Toronto had a big purge,
yep.
and
then Calgary got purged, and a lot of those guys ended up going to Toronto.
Yeah,
when Mace went over there as a DC.
It's hard. It's hard when you keep going to the Grey Cup and you keep not winning. Eventually, people are, they're gonna look for other opportunities, right?
Yep.
So, okay.
Be interesting to see who Winnipeg brings in as their OC, though. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. How about our QB2?
Ooh. There's a lot of QB1As and 1s out there that could be coming here to be a QB2.
Who is our QB2? I guess right now it's Chase Bryce, right?
Yep.
Is he good enough to win 3-4 games if for whatever reason Rourke can't play?
Just careful how you word that, Ro. It's just worded very, very vaguely, man.
Is he good enough to be our QB2?
Because we've seen Montreal has.
We've seen in this league you need 2 quarterbacks for a full season.
Yep. You just have to play that two quarterbacks correctly, which, well, we saw how it's not to be done here. But anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. We move on. Move on.
No. Well, Greg, you answer that question first.
Yeah. Is our QB2 good enough, or do we need an upgrade?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna say we might need an upgrade. Again, I don't know if you're gonna if Bryce is that diamond in the rough that Alexander seems to have been in Montreal. But all I've seen him in is garbage time, right? When Nate faltered and they went straight to him and not VA, and he got mop up time the last 5-7 minutes of a game. I can't say I've got enough confidence in him based on the body of work I've seen. I know there's a brother in this room that thinks he's a John Elway 2.0.
He looks like John Elway. He throws like John Elway. I don't know between the ears.
Does he win like John?
But he has his number, right?
I think again, with what we've been saying this team needs, I mean, we got to get some respectability back. We got to get some fan optimism back now, right? It's urgent. It's critical, whatever we've said. So I think maybe you need a more established quarterback in here to show that this team is doing everything and more to get back to what the fans want here. And if you go Rourke and Bryce, I don't know if that's enough. Should we need that second quarterback to play for an extended length of time?
Okay, Arthur?
I don't think so. I think.
All right. Well, we have only so much money to go around, right?
Yes,
and
that is
Nathan
true.
Rourke's getting paid like the top quarterback in the league, right? So
Yeah.
right now, you're gonna try to get someone on the cheap, right? So, and then that's what's gonna be. And like exactly what happened in the last offseason is they just, when the dust settled, they offered they offered contracts to Cornelius or Dolagala, and then Dolagala took it, and then he was your backup. So basically, after the dust settles, whoever's left, you give them like, hey, this is a backup quarterback salary. This is what we're going to offer you, right? So you're not going to be shopping on day one for
No.
to get a 1B and a high price backup, right? I mean, I think Edmonton will do that. Maybe Montreal will maybe do that. But definitely not BC. So I think BC, we have other areas of concern and areas of need. We need to get tougher on the O line and the D line. We need more physical linebacker play. We need DBs that can
DB
cover
play.
better. I mean, we need a running back. I mean, there's so many areas.
Well, I
So-
think if you do what you're recommending, are that we shore up and toughen up that O line. I don't mean to diminish the running back role, but running backs are aplenty coming out of U.S. colleges, and there's enough free agent camps that we can find a running back that can hit a hole. Just again, we need if we don't bring Stanback back, if we get a bigger back that could go north south with some quick feet as well, I think we'll be okay. Should you get that O line short up? Because again, how many times did we say how many times can Stanback get first contact in the backfield before just as he's got the handoff, right? If they can shore that up and he comes back, or we bring a rookie. I mean, a running back can find holes. That's what they do, right? And again,
Yeah. Well,
American running backs,
they need to be able to
they
read
get the bulk.
They need to be able to read, the extra guy coming in and make the block too.
Yeah, that's key. Can they pick up
that's
a blitz?
key.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. In this league, yes.
Well, this is for Roland. Will they do the stutter step before hitting the hole? Because you see the hole, they do the stutter step, and then they may decide.
That's right. So
We got to get away from a backlight. We got to get
Well,
again. The coach that preferred those type
Is
has
gone.
moved on,
yeah,
right? We have a coach now that's used to a certain type of running back in his backfield. Maybe that's what he goes out and finds.
So you look at how Winnipeg did it. Is they brought back Shriveler, who was never a really good passer,
yeah,
right? He was their backup. He got knocked out for the year,
yes,
right? Because he was their short yardage quarterback, whatever, right? And they when Collaros got that busted finger, they couldn't go to Wilson. Wasn't gonna win them the game through the air, right? They needed a better plan C. Like they got a plan. Their plan B blew up with Shriveler, but really, if even if they're down a score or two, I don't think Trevor's gonna win them the game. I mean, he's complementary to Oliveira,
Yeah. But I
But
think
if
that
they,
one more option to run it
yeah.
and all of
that
that. Right?
maybe that was their mistake when Strevler, because Strevler got hurt how many weeks before the Grey Cup?
Yeah.
So
And then
that,
and they
Quite
brought in
early, yeah.
Dolagala.
oh, they did,
Yeah.
but
So
he never saw the field.
he never saw the field. I mean, he was the third guy. He won the job, but he never got any reps because Wilson would. Because Claris played.
Yeah,
Claris didn't really get an injury, and
That's kind of that was the BC in the 80s. That was the Roy DeWalt syndrome. Remember, he played and when you needed the backup had no reps.
is it
And
Tim
then,
Cowan?
yep, wow, yep, that's who it was. And I mean, heralded out of NCAA, but the guy had no reps, and he got the bum rep because he's got to come in when it counts. And again, they should have replaced Trevor, like Rule said, or
But I mean, that's if
played
Buck
the guy.
follows the Winnipeg model. I don't know, but Buck's not in the GM, not the head coach. He doesn't make that call. He's the OC, right? So Buck being a former quarterback, he's probably say, well, I probably want another quarterback. Like I don't want just someone warm who's got a hot arm. But yeah, I could see Buck pushing for a better quarterback than okay. All the dust is settled. Who's left? Everyone's filled up. Okay, there's like going to be 2 or 3 guys left. There will be. Like I saw the list of available quarterbacks. There's going to be 2 or 3 guys.
maybe Cody Fajardo would still be available.
Might be Cody coming back to BC. I severely doubt it, but you never know.
How about Buck Pierce just strapping on a helmet and going out there?
Oh, boy.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting where the dust settles. I mean, I think people are going to start to bring in more young quarterbacks because they see the benefit of developing a young quarterback.
Yeah.
If Drew Brown stayed with the Winnipeg, they would have won the Grey Cup.
True, but they
They
couldn't keep him.
afford him.
They
Yeah,
couldn't
well,
keep
they
him.
couldn't. They couldn't keep him. But
Yeah.
if they can, they needed that kind of a talent because it was a close game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Except your quarterback trying to go to the air with 4 fingers on the ball instead of 5.
Well, and the most important finger, right?
Yep. The last finger to leave the ball.
But that's a problem we've been having for a while in league wide. Is that we're developing our QB2, and then when they show signs of being good, they get poached, right? Because they want to be QB1. But we're seeing at least right now, it looks like we have a lot more quarterbacks available than there are positions. So maybe the pendulum will shift so that people will be willing to play QB2 because there's no more QB1 positions, right?
Well, that's what happens when you only have a 9-team league. So when you got Powell, Trey Ford, Davis Alexander, all and Drew Brown, right, with an Ethan Rourke a couple of years ago. I mean, that's 5 young quarterbacks that are poised to be the number 1 quarterbacks in your team. And it's and then and look at VA. He was almost a forgotten man.
Yeah.
Someone called him can't play VA.
I don't know who would say that.
Yeah, I don't know. Someone said that, but he was kind of a forgotten man.
What kind of guy? What kind of football person is that? No brains there, man. Holy cow! Must think with his heart.
Yeah. So he was pretty much. Maybe this was his last chance. Could you just said BC was his last chance to do something, and then he totally changed the trajectory of his career. Now he is a top 2, top 3 quarterback in the CFL. So, in a way, it's been a good resurgence for the CFL with a lot of good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And then Shea Patterson,
even Mitchell has rediscovered his game, so it looks like
exactly.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
Harris is healthy again,
and Harris looks good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Mazzoli, maybe he need again. I don't know if that one's ridden off into the sunset yet, but he had all those injuries. He's tried to come back, but then again, Ottawa's now got Drew Brown, right?
I think Ottawa's going to probably go in a different direction. Yeah, I think Mazzoli's. Yeah, it's going to be tough, right? I mean, you just don't know when you want. Availability is the best ability, right?
Yep. And
you need.
And what's that list out there? MBT, Cody.
Yeah, I think
Jake Mayer. I mean, those guys are. would you take those as your second two? I mean, if they were around when the dust settles, would you take Jake Mayer?
I think Saskatchewan will take him.
Really?
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think Saskatchewan will take him because
His contract is up,
yeah.
right?
So yeah. So he'll take a reduced salary, like he'd be a free agent. Because Trevor Harris goes what, 1 or 2 years? He says maybe 3. I mean, he's 38. I mean, at what point?
And he is yet to play a complete season healthy.
Yeah.
Since
But
being in Saskatchewan.
Mayer needs to have some sort of, I don't know what the right word is, but he needs to have a reset, because
He was anointed the next one in Calgary.
and I'm sure there was a reason why he was anointed. He showed a lot of promise, right? He showed enough promise for them to say, okay, we're going to get Bo Levi out, and he's going to take the reins. But for whatever reason, whether it's in his head, whether it was in the scheme or whatever, he couldn't produce, right? So he needs a reset, and I don't know how that's going to work for him, right? I mean, who was that number 10, our quarterback?
Jonathan Jennings.
Yeah, you see what happened to him, right?
Yep, Harris resigned. Oh,
Resigned.
Yeah, 1 year.
re-sign.
1 year.
Resigned 2 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, okay. I'm like, he what? He wants
didn't
Harris to resign?
No,
What?
resigned.
Sorry, Q-Man. So sorry.
Yeah, no, that's right. So maybe Mayer, if he can get a reset, because Jennings never got a chance, right, to reset. He showed promise.
He got the injury, kind of floundered, and then they shipped him off.
Yeah.
Well, I think Mayer can reset if he's the backup, right, to an established quarterback with a good OC, with a good O line.
Yeah.
And some good receivers, right? So if he, I think most important to him is not the money, is the situation.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's so this situation, whether it's Saskatchewan, say Montreal, maybe Winnipeg or BC, which one of these places gives him the best chance to succeed with like a good OC, a good O-line, some receivers that make plays. You know how Montreal executes their offense. It's a lot of underneath high percentage throws, get you in the groove.
Yeah.
Maybe that's more. Jake Mayer goes, well, maybe that's better for me than just keep on going downfield, right?
Yeah.
A McKismic offense is those intermediate routes. So maybe that OC doesn't fit his style. Maybe a Buck Pierce style or a Mark Mueller style, like for Saskatchewan, maybe those kind of OCs will be better for him. More quick passes, the receivers make yak yards. Your stats as a quarterback go up. Your confidence goes up because you have high percentage throws, and hopefully you have a good O-line. So, I mean, I would, for me as a quarterback, if I had all these openings or potential places to land, this is what I'm looking at. Like, I need a good O-line. Number 1, good OC. Number 2, good receivers. Number 3, a good O-line.
Yeah.
And maybe not in that order. I mean, it depends if I want to be, if I'm like fear for my bodily well-being, I want a good O-line, right?
I think the priority might change whether you're a young quarterback or an older quarterback. I think a younger quarterback may not put
He just wants the playbook.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Yeah, but I mean, who knows? Maybe Bryce will be good, but right now we don't know, right?
I mean, if Bryce comes into play, I'll just quickly say it, then the Lions are in trouble. Let's just put it away. Like, they need Nathan Rourke to be healthy into the playoffs.
Yes.
With Bryce in there, I mean, we're just going to tread water. I mean, but yeah, let you read Q-Man's comment.
With VA coming in that time when Nate got hurt, that's not going to happen very often. So.
Yeah, so Q-Man says Bryce will be our backup. We have highest price starter, yeah, like what Arthur said. So second-tier backups, Duke, Shields, Evans are options, but others can pay more. But the thing is, others can pay more, but we have more quarterbacks than there are positions. So there's still going to be some left over, and I guess, Arthur's saying maybe we'll just wait, right? Wait to see whoever is.
The long list. There's a lot of quarterbacks, and everyone and people who have good too. They're like, oh, I'll get a third guy in. I'm not going to pay a third guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're going to pay maybe two positions. The third guy is someone young you want to groom, or maybe your short yardage quarterback that you're not really going to pay much, right?
Yeah.
Toronto will be very interesting what Toronto does because they have the player that shall not be named.
Yes.
I'll follow
We never did talk to
CFF. They have Arbuckle, who was the MOP for the Grey Cup, and they have
Yes.
Cameron Dukes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it'd be very interesting what they do.
Yeah. You think Arbuckle will be willing to stay as number 3 or get paid as number 3?
I don't know.
He's got a thing in his back pocket called a Grey Cup and an MOP. That might be a little hard to stay as number 3. I mean, he was anointed the next one before Jake Mayer, if I do remember correctly.
Yeah. And he's actually at the same age as VA, right? I'm thinking this guy's like late 30s. He's still
because I think he backed up Garcia, did he not, or VA? He backed up. I mean, he was supposed to be the next great Calgary quarterback.
Yeah, so he's not like old.
But he's not,
None of these guys are old compared to
he's not.
to Greg.
Nobody's old compared to Greg.
Yeah. So could he be an option? I mean, if he doesn't want to be number 3, but if we bring him in as a number 2, could he be a good number 2?
Yeah, I think he might be like musical chairs, right? He might be sitting out, like he might be sitting out. So there's a chance, but I don't know. Like, is he the kind of the player that Buck wants?
Yeah.
Like Buck probably wants the mentality of a tough player.
That'll go out there on your 3rd and inches and get like 4 yards on his own.
Yeah.
Q-Man actually made the count. So if MVT and Fajardo sit, so they're waiting for a starter injury, and Mazzoli retires, then we only have 6 veteran backups for 7 teams. So that's why he's counted.
Yeah, I don't know if Fajardo will be willing to sit
And
unemployed waiting for a starter.
I
injury.
think McClub Ethel Thompson will sit because he wants to be a starter, and he's probably done enough to be a starter. And Fajardo probably does think that way too. But if both of them are sitting, I mean, that's I don't know. That's tough to if both are sitting. One sits out, probably the one guy will get filled. Yeah, I don't know. What Farhan thinks Cody might end up in? Well, back to Montreal on a reduced contract, or Edmonton.
Yeah,
as a QB2.
As QB2, but the 1B. Because then I think for a starting quarterback, Trey Ford is making less than the other quote-unquote starters.
Yeah.
So you have a bit more money to bring in Cody Fajardo. Well, we'll see.
Is he going to be willing to take that role, though? I mean, again, not far removed from a Grey Cup championship and an MOP as well.
Well, he was indicating that he thought he would be the regular season MVP if it wasn't for his hamstring injury.
Yeah.
So he has that high view of himself.
Yeah. So he has high expectations. So he might be willing to forego being a QB2 and just, chances are, one of the quarterbacks will get injured and he might get called to be a starter halfway through the season.
So if I was in this position, knowing who gets injured and how, I'd go to Edmonton because Trey Ford, love him or hate him, gets injured a bit easily. The way he plays, he's a smaller quarterback, kind of like VA, and VA gets injured too. They're susceptible to injury. So I would go to Edmonton. And then also, Trey Ford, I think, makes the least amount for a starting quarterback in the CFL. Then I would go there because there's probably more money in the quarterback room.
Yeah. And he can make the case that, he can help mentor the young guy. So it'll be.
I don't know if he's a match. I don't know if he's a match for a McKismic offense, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yep, we'll see. Oh, more episodes. I can see it now.
All right. So it's 9:30, I guess. Yeah. Lots of what ifs. Lots of what ifs.
Cautious optimism. I love Roland's term.
a lot
Cautious
of
optimism and culture carrier. That's what we have here today.
yes, but I like the culture carriers. I think we do need that.
We have one
So
big question left. We
okay,
never talked.
what is that?
VA, did we get enough?
No. Oh,
Ah,
sorry.
we definitely did not get enough, but sadly, that was all we could muster. That was all that was available.
So we're told.
Well, I mean, if
Well,
you looked at what happened, like they re-signed Harris at Saskatchewan. Edmonton went with Trey Ford, gave him starter money, or low end of starter money. Bo Levi's going to resign in Hamilton. I mean,
Ottawa's going to go with Drew Brown.
Ottawa's going to go Drew Brown. The
yeah,
player that shall be
Montreal's got
named is
Alexander.
the player that shall be named will be in Toronto. Davis Alexander got big time money to be a starter. So there's no in a 9-team league. Unfortunately, this is no other teams.
yeah. It was.
I would have liked to get at least one roster worthy player. I mean, you got VA with his stats, with his
I
ability,
know. Yeah.
his performance, and all you got were picks.
Yeah.
I
We
would
need,
like to have
yeah.
gotten one roster worthy player.
There's so much honestly, there's so much free agency. It doesn't matter. There's so many free agents, Greg. Take a look at the long list. Actually, you should just look at who each team has signed for 2025. You can reshape your roster depending on how much cap space you have.
Yeah. But again, up front, initial reaction to that question, I would like to have gotten at least one player instead of all those draft picks. One
Yeah.
player and a bunch of second or third round picks I'd have been fine with.
Yeah.
Like
Hey.
even and I don't know what this will generate out there, but even if it was like say Cam Judge coming this way or something, or Micah Alway for the 15th
He makes a
time
lot
as a
of
line.
money. He makes a lot of
Yeah,
money as a
yeah.
Canadian, and he faded in the second half of that season.
Yep.
So
Or even well, I think he's a free agent now too. Philpott, right?
he
At
is
least,
a free agent.
At least a roster player for what VA did and what VA can do
Yeah.
and is shown, right? But it is what it is.
I agree, but in terms of negotiating, if you're only talking to one or maybe two teams, there's not much leverage, you can get, right? But the good
So I
thing
think
that,
we did everything you guys said. We did right by him. We kept him kind of close to where he's from, his home.
yeah, Q-Man says 9th pick. Note last two BC first rounders can't even make active 45.
He's right.
Well, hopefully George Una, 1 year of being near the playbook, is ready to go. He was our first rounder from last year. Potentially a physical O lineman.
Say
So
in
we'll
place
see.
of Perkins. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah. Well, they need. Well, what did I read that? Like Chung and Couture are the 8th and 11th highest paid O linemen in the league.
Wow.
Or they're 7 and 9, or they're okay 2 and then top 11. So and then based on that, we should have our above average O line.
Yep.
Yeah. Q-Man says Una can't even dress. Come on.
Yeah. Well, he got to learn, right? You got to learn the playbook. You got to know where to go.
I think we give Knievel another chance as a guard because he was really effective as a guard, better than, dare I say, what we've got there now. Not as a tackle. He was horrible as a tackle. But as a guard, mind you, can Nate see over top of that to throw? But again,
I think you bring in 2 free agents.
Canadian?
Yep. Yeah, you bring in the 2 best O-line free agents you can get, and you might have to cut one or both of those guys who make too much money.
Yeah.
Right, because you're gonna have to pay for these new I mean, these are both Canadian O linemen, right? So you're gonna have to pay someone. But you just need a change. The leadership, the core of the team needs to change. To change in Buck's image, right? So sometimes it's just easier to have that fresh new face, and you need something fresh. You need change. You need different leaders.
And that O-line has been the same for a while now. I think even back to when Riley was quarterback, I think that O-line was the same.
I mean, Couture was a like the last 2 years.
And we thought he'd be an upgrade coming from Winnipeg's O-line factory, right?
He had a good half year, and then he the Lions' best 5-game 5 game segment was when he was not playing.
Enough said.
So I don't know. I mean, that was when VA was playing like an MOP.
Yeah. Q-Man says, if you sign McInnes, go 4-man import O-line. It's enough. And then Q-Man also says, with Rourke, we only need to play 6 Canadians.
Then where are your Canadians? Two at receiver.
You're hoping McKinnon. Well, you're hoping it's 2 at receiver. We got to re-sign
Well,
McInnes.
Katoy, but then you'll have another Canadian receiver,
Okay.
regardless, right? You're gonna need one of your linebackers. You're gonna need 1 or 2 D linemen, and maybe your safety.
I would like to see a nasty ass safety that just takes people's heads off just for 1 year. But again, we'll see what we have money wise. But that's another episode. But we'll go through all what we'd like at each position, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But as it stands, I think right now we're trending in the right direction with. So far, like I said, I held my breath with that GM with him hiring Buck Pierce. I'm exhaling a little bit, cautious.
Yeah. So Q-Man says, in response to Arthur, 3 on D, Couture, McInnes, Katoy, and Rourke.
Couture. Would you keep him over Pearson?
Yeah, I mean that's just those. I think ideally they bring another O-line coach in. They were going to have to, since it looks like Bates is moving on. Then it'll be that new O-line coach. If it's coming from Winnipeg, they may have something to say. All right. So hopefully that's the case, because we do need a complete change there. I think it starts with the O-line to dictate physicality.
Yeah, toughness, yeah.
Toughness. I think it starts with your O-line. That's your toughness of your team.
Exactly, yeah.
And the second would be your your D-line and your middle linebackers or your linebackers. But it starts with your O-line, because you're just going to dictate to, we're going to run the ball.
Yeah.
And you're going to try to stop us.
Yeah.
We're going to run you over.
Yeah, we're going to do what we want to do, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it starts with your O-line. And I think that's the quickest way to change the culture.
Yeah. Human says, Betts, Covington, Heladik, Canadian safety. Or Betts or Covington, then Heladik and a Canadian safety. So that's 3 on D. Yeah, I guess it could work, yeah. All right. Well, it's 9:38, guys. Let's call it a night. It'd be interesting to see what more developments there are. There's a lot of things happening in the other teams too. So, like Arthur said earlier, lots of flux. So it'd be very interesting. Yeah, be very interesting. But I am more optimistic than cautious with Buck Pierce. Just given his pedigree as being a tough guy, I think that's what we really needed. So let's just hope that that he can build a good team around him, both on the coaching and on the players' side.
And let's hope he has first-year head coaching success a la Mace.
Yeah.
But if you get the right players that want to play for him, he should be okay.
Yeah.
But I have to say, when Buck was on that press conference, when he talked about toughness, he looked pretty tough. Like, he was pretty serious.
He looks really serious. He doesn't talk much, right? He doesn't say a lot of words, but yeah, he looks tough. Yeah.
I noticed during that press conference that the hairline and the hairdo is pretty similar. I think there's going to be a new hair trend with the Lions brass, man. Ring Maiden's nice and slick, and Buck's slick. I mean, we're gonna just go the rolling look for the Lions now. Support.
There you go.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining in tonight.
Thanks, Q-Man. Thanks, Talent.
Glad that we were able to chat with you. We don't have a set schedule now that the season's over, but we'll be doing live streams every now and then as we get news coming out. So take care, have a great evening, and see you next time.
See ya.
All right, bye bye.
Go Lions.
Go Lions.
Go Lions.